dark chosen ones, 7 divine forces secretly protecting you. Discover now. Have you ever wondered why, despite everything you've been through, you're still standing? Why, when life pushed you into the darkest corners, you didn't collapse completely, even though every part of you wanted to give up? Why, when people turned on you, when doors closed, when your world felt like it was dissolving into chaos, something somehow kept pulling you back from the edge? That something isn't imagination. It isn't luck. It's not even just resilience. It's protection, unseen, unspoken, but real. And not just any protection, divine protection. Because if you are a dark chosen one, you are not just walking through life randomly. You are being watched, guided, tested, and yes, shielded by 7 sacred forces you may not even be aware of yet. Let's be honest. The life of a dark chosen one is brutal. You weren't born into ease. You were born into intensity, into patterns of trauma, emotional warfare, spiritual confusion, and karmic loops that would have broken most people. You were never given the luxury of sleeping through life. From day one, you were being shaped. And that shaping came in the form of pain, isolation, and being misunderstood. But what if I told you that all of that, every breakdown, every betrayal, every moment where you questioned your own sanity, was actually the evidence of divine intervention, not its absence?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You see, protection doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes protection looks like chaos. Sometimes it looks like losing everything, only to realize that what you lost was never meant to be part of your future. Sometimes it looks like a delay that saves you from walking into a storm you didn't even see coming. Sometimes it's that strange intuition that tells you not to trust someone, even when they seem perfect. And sometimes it's just walking through life with an invisible shield over your soul, one that keeps you from fully collapsing when the weight of life becomes unbearable. The first divine force that protects you is divine delay. You've probably experienced this without realizing its sacredness. When everything feels like it's moving too slowly, when nothing seems to be happening, no matter how hard you try. You pray, you manifest, you visualize, and yet silence, delay, stillness. It feels like punishment. But what if that delay is actually a protective force holding you back, because the thing you're asking for is not ready for you, or worse, you're not ready for it? Divine delay is not denial. It's calibration. It's the universe making sure that when something does arrive, you are strong enough, wise enough, and conscious enough to hold it without destroying yourself. How many times have you begged for something only to realize later that if it had come when you asked, it would have crushed you? The second force is sacred severance. The people who leave your life without explanation, the friends who ghost you, the lovers who betray you, and the mentors who disappoint you. At first, it feels like abandonment. But if you look closer, you'll see a pattern. Every person who left did so right before a major shift in your growth. It's like they were removed because their presence would have blocked your evolution. You didn't lose them. They were removed for your protection. And as painful as it is, energy doesn't lie. Some people carry frequencies that are incompatible with your destiny. Keeping them around would have slowed your vibration, distorted your intuition, or even redirected your path entirely. So the universe did what your ego couldn't. It let them go. The third divine force is energetic armor. This one's harder to see, but once you notice it, you'll feel it everywhere. It's that inexplicable peace in the middle of chaos, the kind that doesn't make sense. It's the strength to keep going when you should be on the floor. It's the resilience that rises from nowhere. It's the way your soul feels like it's wrapped in something ancient, wise, and impenetrable, even when your mind is breaking. This armor is real. It's spiritual insulation, a force field that activates when your soul is under attack. You may feel broken, but you're never shattered. That's the armor working. Have you ever stopped to wonder why, no matter how much trauma you've endured, some part of you refuses to die inside? That's not survival instinct. That's divine engineering. The fourth is the voice within the silence. It's subtle, but if you're still enough, it speaks, sometimes in dreams, sometimes in a feeling, sometimes in words you hear in your own voice, but you know they're not from you. It's the guidance system built into your being, and it's not random. It's ancient. It's part of your spiritual contract. As a dark chosen one, you were born with a higher level of inner communication, but only trauma, isolation, and silence could activate it. That's why you were pulled away from the noise of normal life, so you could hear the voice, the one that says, "Go now." Wait, don't trust that. You're not crazy. That voice is not your imagination. It's one of the most potent forms of divine protection you will ever know. So let me ask you something almost no one ever dares to ask. What if your suffering was actually a language? What if your betrayals were teachers? What if your silence was a sanctuary? What if the very things you resented were actually the evidence that you are being protected, watched, and prepared? Because that's the truth. You are being protected, not in the way the world defines it, but in the way the soul understands it. You are not alone. You are never alone. Even in your darkest hour, there are forces surrounding you, intervening on your behalf, rerouting your path, whispering in your ear. They are not loud. They are not dramatic. They are subtle, surgical, divine, and they are real. This is just the beginning of what you need to know. There are more forces, more signs, more layers, and once you understand them fully, your entire life will start to make sense in a way that it never has before. The guardians of the unseen, how angelic and ancestral forces guide you through the dark. There's a reason you didn't die in the moments that almost broke you. There's a reason that, though all logic said you should have gone under, you rose again. And no, it wasn't just your strength or willpower. There is something else, something older, unseen, and yet absolutely real. But you've been held when you didn't even know you were falling. You've been redirected without knowing you were lost. And this is where we begin to understand the fifth divine force protecting you, the guardians of the unseen, the angelic and ancestral energies that walk beside you. Even when you feel completely alone, every soul has a lineage, not just of blood, but of spirit. Yours is ancient. Yours is marked. If you are a dark chosen one, then your soul didn't start in this life. You've carried codes across lifetimes, and those codes are protected by intelligence that transcends human comprehension. These are not fairy tale angels with harps and halos. These are raw, cosmic forces that bend time and space to pull you away from destruction. Sometimes they show up as a stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear. Sometimes they come as a dream so vivid it changes the course of your life. And sometimes their guidance is silent, like the sudden urge to turn left instead of right, only to find out later that right would have led to disaster. These beings don't need your belief to operate. Their loyalty is based on your soul's assignment, not your personality's preferences. They don't interfere with every inconvenience, but they will intervene in moments that threaten your evolution. Their job is not to make your life easy. It's to keep you aligned with the path that your soul contracted to walk. And for many of us, that path includes pain, because pain burns away illusion. Pain awakens clarity. Pain strips the ego bare until only truth remains. And in those moments, when you're lying in the ashes of everything you thought you were, the guardians step forward. Not always to save you, but to remind you that you're not meant to be destroyed. Then there are the ancestors, the warriors, the seers, the healers, the misunderstood ones who came before you. Their blood runs through yours, not just in biology but in vibration. And even if they were silenced in life, their spirits have not forgotten. When you cry for no reason, when you feel grief that doesn't belong to your current memory, when your body reacts to spaces or people you've never met before, sometimes that's ancestral data surfacing. You are not just clearing your own karma, you are clearing theirs too. You are the living redemption of their unfinished story. That's why your life has been so intense, because you are carrying more than one destiny. Have you ever felt like you were being protected by something you couldn't name? Like a car crash was milliseconds away and then didn't happen? Like you were about to make a decision that felt right, but something unseen yanked you back last minute? That's not coincidence. That's guidance. A force that says, not this way, not now. And the more you awaken, the more that guidance becomes a dialogue. You start to hear it in subtle ways. A song lyric, a repeated number, a chill on your skin when someone speaks truth, a sudden emotional download when you're alone in nature. That is your spiritual team signaling that they're with you. But here's the truth: they can only assist you to the degree that you're willing to listen. That's the paradox of free will. You have to choose to walk in awareness. You have to choose to slow down enough to hear the whispers. Otherwise, you'll miss the signs, drown in doubt, and mistake divine redirection for misfortune. That's why silence is sacred. That's why solitude is not a curse, it's a classroom. It's in the quiet that the guardians speak the loudest. Now, let me ask you something that might change how you view your entire life. What if all the delays, redirections, and losses weren't detours, but divine choreography? What if you've never been alone for a single second, even when you begged for a sign? What if you are being guided by intelligences who see every possible outcome and who are doing everything in their power to keep you aligned with the one that leads to your soul's highest expression, even if it hurts? You are not abandoned. You are accompanied. You are not lost. You are being led. But the path of the dark chosen one isn't meant to be obvious. It's meant to be felt, intuited, lived with your entire being. And once you begin to trust that the unseen is more real than anything you can touch, everything changes. And the fear fades. The anxiety dissolves. The need to control everything softens. You begin to walk with an inner authority, not because everything makes sense, but because you know you're being led by something greater than logic. And when you live like that, when you truly walk in alignment with divine guardianship, you become the miracle. You become the sign someone else has been praying for. You become the evidence that even in total darkness, light has never left. The seventh shield, how divine chaos is the last force that saves you. There is one force, perhaps the most misunderstood, the most feared, and the most powerful among all the divine protections that surround the dark chosen ones. It doesn't come dressed as light. It doesn't announce itself with clarity or calm. It rarely feels like a blessing in the moment. In fact, it often feels like destruction, like everything you built, everything you trusted, everything you planned is being torn apart before your eyes. This force is chaos, but not random chaos, not suffering for the sake of suffering. This is divine chaos, the seventh shield, the final protection, the one that doesn't just save you. It awakens you at the cellular level. We've been trained to fear chaos. Society labels it as failure, instability, danger. We're told to avoid it, control it, suppress it. But the truth is, chaos is one of the highest forms of divine intelligence. Why? Because it interrupts patterns that no longer serve your evolution. It shakes you out of your comfort zone. It destroys illusions you're still clinging to. Divine chaos doesn't come to ruin you. It comes to force alignment when you've ignored every other signal. Have you ever had a moment in your life where everything collapsed at once? Your job ended, your relationship imploded, your health suffered, and your sense of direction vanished all at the same time. That wasn't bad luck. That was divine intervention. That was the final force stepping in when the others couldn't get through to you. Because sometimes the only way to wake up a soul that's drifting is to let the ground fall out from beneath them. And though it feels like death in the moment, what actually dies is the version of you that was never meant to survive. Divine chaos is not reckless, it's surgical. It doesn't destroy what's true, it only tears apart what's false. And it's often the last resort, not the first. You're usually given signs long before the chaos strikes. Intuition whispers, dreams warn you, conversations echo the truth you're avoiding. But if you keep ignoring the call, chaos becomes the call. And when it arrives, it does not apologize. It does not ask permission. It simply clears the space for what must come next. We resist chaos because we don't trust what's on the other side of it. We cling to the familiar, even when it's killing us. But here's the paradox. The faster you surrender to divine chaos, the faster it becomes divine clarity. When you stop trying to rebuild the old, the new begins to reveal itself. That's the alchemy. That's the reason chaos is the seventh shield. It protects you from yourself, from your attachments, from your fears, from the smallness you've mistaken for stability. Let me ask you something that will shatter your old paradigm. What if the most painful chapter of your life wasn't a punishment, but a portal? What if the chaos that broke you was actually designed to birth you? And what if the reason it felt like hell was because you were still clinging to the illusion that you could control your awakening? Because you can't. Not at this level. Not when you've been chosen. Not when your soul carries a blueprint that affects not just your life, but the vibration of others. When you are a dark chosen one, your awakening is not just for you, it's for the collective. And sometimes, the collective is so deeply asleep that your life must become a living disruption, a cosmic earthquake that shakes others awake through your transformation. So when divine chaos hits, and if it hasn't yet, it will remember that it's not the end. It's the middle. It's the sacred dismantling before the sacred rebuilding. But it's the storm before the stillness that comes when you finally remember who you are. And when you do, when you rise from the ashes of the old life, you'll realize something profound. Nothing real was ever lost. Only the illusions burned. Only the lies died. Only the masks melted. And what remains after divine chaos is truth, is presence, is power. That is the force that saves you when all others have tried and failed. That is the final shield. Chaos is not your enemy. It is your exodus. Becoming the force, how to activate these 7 shields and walk fully protected. Now that you've seen the 7 divine forces that have been protecting you all along, some gently, some fiercely, it's time to ask the most important question of all. But what do you do with this knowledge? Because knowing that you are protected is only the beginning. The real spiritual mastery comes when you begin to activate these shields consciously. When you stop walking through life as a passive recipient of divine intervention and start walking like the force itself. That's the final stage of the dark chosen one's path, not to merely survive the fire, but to become the fire. Not to wait for protection, but to align so deeply with your soul's frequency that protection becomes your natural field. Let's be clear. Activation doesn't mean control. It doesn't mean forcing your way through life. It means coherence. It means living in such deep truth that the divine forces recognize you instantly because your vibration mirrors their own. You don't beg for guidance. You move in such alignment that guidance flows to you. You don't chase safety. You become the kind of person who radiates so much presence that chaos bends around you. This is not spiritual arrogance. It's divine responsibility. When you're chosen, you're not here to be saved. You're here to embody the same energy that once saved you. So how do you activate these 7 shields? First, you must cultivate radical stillness. The divine can't speak over the noise of a frantic mind. When you slow down, when you sit in silence, when you choose presence over distraction, you begin to hear the ancient language of your own soul. This is where the voice within the silence becomes louder than the world. This is where delay becomes divine timing. This is where you start to feel when something is off, long before it reveals itself. Then you surrender what no longer fits. That means letting go of relationships, ideas, and even identities that you've outgrown. Sacred severance is a shield that requires your cooperation. The universe can remove what's not meant for you, but if you keep chasing it, you're fighting your own protection. Let it go. Not because you don't care, but because you do care more about your evolution than your ego's comfort. Next, trust your intuition as your first language. We've been taught to second-guess ourselves, to seek external validation, to doubt our inner compass. But for you, guidance doesn't come through logic. It comes through energy, through sensation, through the way your body reacts in certain situations. And that subtle discomfort, that's a shield. That chill on your spine, that's a warning. That overwhelming peace in a decision that makes no sense, that's confirmation. Learn to trust it more than what you see. And then embrace divine chaos when it comes. Don't run from it. Don't panic. Recognize it. Welcome it. Say, I see you. I trust you. I release the need to understand you right now. That alone changes everything. Because once you stop resisting chaos, it transforms. It becomes a teacher, a purifier, a path clearer. And the faster you surrender, the faster you rise. But above all, the final activation is this: remember who you are. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are encoded with intelligence older than this planet. You are a frequency disruptor, a reality bender, a soul with a contract to awaken others simply by living your truth. When you walk in that remembrance, the 7 shields don't just protect you, they move through you. Your life becomes a shield for others. Your words become medicine. Your presence becomes a sanctuary. So now I'll ask you something you may have never dared to ask yourself. What would your life look like if you fully accepted that you are divinely protected, divinely guided, and divinely chosen? Would you still hide? Would you still wait for permission? Or would you finally rise? Because the truth is, you've already survived what was meant to destroy you. You've already been protected in ways your mind can't even comprehend. Now it's your turn to become the force. You are the shield. You are the voice. You are the light that chaos could not put out. Walk protected. Walk awakened. Walk like you remember.